does it come as much as a surprise anymore when these borders just come down so quickly?
Yeah, good morning, Pete. That's right. I think until we get that, I saw you there talking to the AMA earlier on, until we get those vaccine numbers out to that high level that the government and its health advisors are after, we just know that we're going to be in a space where, with state governments focusing so strongly on public health and border closures are an important tool there, that this is just going to continue to happen. The state governments are just not going to let this get out of control. It served us overall pretty well to date. I think we're just going to have to continue to be patient with that over the next 12 months.
Well, because they're just doing what is largely supported by their own communities.
Yeah, exactly right. And we had the cautionary tale, Pete, which we've spoken ad nauseum about with Victoria and that secondary outbreak. And no Premier is going to basically sort of sign up to have that happen and it get out of control, particularly out of quarantine.
Yeah.
So we just have to be patient. And look, yes, we know there's going to be a rolling cost, an economic cost for that, but the economic cost of this thing getting out of control in the way it has in Europe or the US, it just it doesn't bear thinking
well,
about.
Well, you would have even noticed, James, that the federal government has shifted its language and its position on that because it is largely supported by respective communities, respective states and territories.
Oh, exactly right, and we know that the pressure's going to move, Pete, in the next 12 months to the federal government more than the state here, and the borders. So the vaccine rollout and international borders, right? Like that's going to be the longer term economic consequences here are very much focusing on the international border and when that comes down and when we get international students back and net overseas migration up, because those will be the drags on the economy over the medium term. So I think the government knows that it's probably has to tap the mat there and let the states do their thing and provide as much support as they can.
Meanwhile, the economy is humming along pretty nicely. Another 500,000 unemployed workers back in the job over the past 5 months, and that is mostly thanks to blue-collar jobs.
That's right. They're good numbers. They're obviously great numbers for the federal government in terms of the economic recovery and the subsidies they've put in place, JobKeeper and JobSeeker. I think the debate now quickly moves to JobKeeper coming off, and that's obviously, we're seeing the end of that in March. Some economists are arguing that might be too soon and there may be a impact or shock, but there's no sign of that at the moment. So they are good numbers and they're good jobs. So, I mean, it's just a tribute to the way the federal and state governments have handled COVID today.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do, though, what they decide for those sectors who need money beyond March. We had travel agents organisation on earlier in the show, and they said that they need help for another 3 years. That's how much more help they're going to need, and that's just one sector.
Yeah, I think the government's sort of shown a willingness to talk about future support in a sector-by-sector basis, not having the broad-based subsidies we saw last year. So I think, aviation, travel, hospitality, there'll be sectors who are calling out for more support. I think the federal government, ultimately the federal government's in charge of turning off the tap when it comes to demand for a lot of those sectors with international travel and tourism. So, I think the federal government is coming under pressure there. I'm sure they will have more packages that they'll look to outline in the budget.
Yep, OK. What about Anthony Albanese? Did his speech last night? It's his 8-point plan. It's already been carved up by business groups and the Attorney-General yesterday as well. But what did you make of it?
Yeah, look, I think it's an important opportunity for federal Labor to create a point of difference, Pete. Like, we know that the focus at the moment's been on the way that the federal government has conducted itself with the COVID recovery. That's not necessarily what federal Labor wants to be talking about as much at the upcoming election, perhaps in the second half of this year. So creating points of difference in areas like industrial relations, secure work, childcare, very important. So I think it was a really important moment for Anthony Albanese. I think it was needed. Yes, in terms of the detail, we know that there's a number of fights there with a stack of business groups, but Labor's used to that. Some of these policies are sort of longer running and longer term policies for federal Labor, but there's some interesting debates and discussions that federal Labor's now talking about with the gig economy, areas like portable entitlements as well. So, there is some nervousness in the community when it comes to casualisation and insecure work. So, federal Labor's keen to talk about jobs in the context of quality, secure jobs at the next election. So that's going to be an interesting fight that it looks to have with the coalition.
Will it be enough?
Yeah, well, no, I think it's going to need a couple more points of difference. I mean, it's probably not going to have, it won't want to have 150, policies like last time, but it'll want to have, 4 or 5 key areas where, you vote for Anthony Albanese in federal Labor and it makes a difference. And it's, it's childcare and it's secure jobs and it's, A, B and C. And that's what, and it's, it's a good start to the year when it comes to Anthony Albanese, flexing his muscle in the policy debate.
Yep. Okay, James Cullen, good to chat as always. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Pete.